Hi everyone, welcome to this in-depth scientific exploration of one of the most practical and powerful frameworks in evidence-based hypertrophy training, the stimulus to fatigue ratio or SFR. If you ever pour serious effort into your workouts, only to feel that the muscle growth doesn't quite match the grind, or hit frustrating plateaus despite consistent training, this video will equip you with a clear, principle-driven lens to diagnose what's happening and optimize your results. SFR is a conceptual tool popularized by Dr. Mike Israetel and the Renaissance Periodization team. It compares the hypertrophic stimulus an exercise, set, or session provides against the fatigue it generates. Conceptually, it's a stimulus divided by fatigue. The goal is simple yet profound. Maximize the numerator while keeping the denominator as low as possible. So you get more muscle growth per unit of recovery cost. Today, we'll break this down comprehensively. We'll define a stimulus and fatigue with their underlying physiological mechanism. Explore practical proxies for assessment. Dive deep into exercise selection with detailed examples across every major muscle group. Examine how to integrate SFR into full programming. Review the supporting scientific literature. Discuss limitation and individual factors. And finish with actionable steps you can apply immediately. First, what do we mean by a stimulus in the context of hypertrophy? It's increase in skeletal muscle cross-sectional area, driven primarily by three interrelated mechanisms, outlined in Brad Schoenfeld's seminal 2010 review and subsequent work. Mechanical tension, metabolic stress, and muscle damage. Mechanical tension is widely regarded as the primary driver. It arises from active force production and passive stretch under load, particularly when muscles are lengthened. This tension activates mechanisms, triggers mTORC1 signaling, promotes myofibrillar protein synthesis, and can lead to satellite cell activation and myonuclear adhesion. Metabolic stress involves the accumulation of metabolites like lactate, hydrogen ion, and inorganic phosphates, often linked to pump and cell swelling. This can enhance anabolic signaling through pathway involving hypoxia, reactive oxygen species, and hormonal responses, though its role is considered secondary or additive to tension. And finally, muscle damage. Microtrauma to muscle fiber and surrounding structures was once thought central but now viewed as less essential for hypertrophy in trained individuals. Some damage may contribute via inflammatory responses and satellite cell activity, but excessive damage often increases fatigue without proportional stimulus gain. The raw stimulus magnitude, RSM, referred to the absolute hypertrophic drive independent of recovery costs. High RSM training effectively overloads the target muscle across this mechanism, especially with emphasis on lengthened position or controlled execution. Now, fatigue. It encompasses local effect within the muscle, metabolite built up, temporary force decrement, damage leading to soreness or impaired function, systematic central components such as elevated cortisol, central nervous system inhibition, joint connective tissue stress, and overall recovery demand that limits future training quality or frequency. Importantly, some fatigue is productive. The repeated bout effects, RBE, I must make a video about this topic in future, shows the body adapts to tolerate higher workloads over time. However, insufficient fatigue from excessive exercise, stabilized demand, poor leverage, axial loading, or going too far beyond optimal proximity to failure raises the denominator without adequately boosting the numerator. That's the essence of SFR. We seek movements, execution strategies that deliver higher stimulus while minimizing unnecessary fatigue, allowing a higher recoverable weekly volume and better long-term progress. So, how do we practically assess SFR without lab equipment? We must rely on validated proxies refined through applied sports physiology. For a stimulus, mind and muscle connection, do you feel preferential tension, bend, and stretch in target muscle during and after the set? Or is effort diffused to synergies and stabilizers? The pump, quality sarcoplasmic swelling in target muscle from metabolite stress and fluid shifts, typically in moderate rep range. Localized soreness patterns, predictable, recoverable, delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS, in the target area without excessive joint pain or global exhaustion. Post-set performance. Does the target muscle show clear fatigue while movement quality remains high? And for fatigue, joint and connective tissue stress. Does the exercise beat up shoulders, spine, knees, or elbows disproportionately? Physiological and systematic demand, heavy bracing, grip failure, or overall tiredness beyond what the target muscle would explain. Recovery kinetics, how quickly does strength and readiness return for subsequent set or sessions? Broader markers such as sleep quality, motivation, or lingering global fatigue. A superior SFI exercise scores high on stimulus proxies and low on fatigue proxies. It's a continuum modulated by your anthropometry, injury history, mobility, and training age. Let's apply this rigorously to exercise selection, the area where SFR often has the greatest impact. For quadriceps, barbell back squat offer high absolute RSM through multi-joint loading and lengthen stretch, but the SFR is frequently moderate due to heavy axial spinal loading, erector glute fatigue, and cardiovascular demand. Higher SFR alternatives are matching hack squats or leg presses, a stabilized torso, deep knee flexion, and especially leg extension, Precise isolation, minimal systematic cost, excellent shortened position overload, while we have low joint stress. Hamstring and glutes. Conventional deadlifts provide a strong stimulus, but often poor SFR from massive erector-spinae, grip, and spinal shear demands. Better options are Romanian deadlifts or lying or seated leg curls for targeted lengthen tension with reduced systematic load. Hip thrust or glute bridge isolate glutes effectively with minimal anterior chain involvement. Chest barbell bench press generates excellent horizontal adduction stimulus, but raising loads increase shoulders, triceps fatigue, and bracing costs, degrading the ratio. Superior SFR choices: cable or dumbbell flies, constant tension through forearm, forward lean dips, generate pec emphasis, dumbbell presses, deeper stretch, or matching chest press, fixed path, lower stabilizer demand. For shoulders, especially lateral head, overhead presses deliver raw stimulus but accumulate trapezius, triceps, and lower back fatigue. Lateral raises, dumbbell or cable with a slight forward lean and controlled eccentrics offer exceptional SFR. Direct abduction overload, negligible systematic cost, and a strong mind-muscle connection. Rear and front delt work follow similar isolation logic. For back muscle, lats, rhomboids, traps, bent over rows, or deadly variation heavily tax erectors and grip. Higher ratio movements are chest supported rows, seated cable rows, or a strict lat pull down or pull-ups, maximizing scapular retraction and lat tension while minimizing postural fatigue. And for biceps, standing barbell curls, often low momentum and forearm fatigue. Preacher curls, matching curls, or incline dumbbell curls provide better isolation and peak tension with less shoulder involvement. For triceps, close grip bench or dips can work but accumulate chest-shoulder fatigue. Overhead extension for long head stretch and cable pushdowns with full range deliver cleaner stimulus. For calves and smaller groups, follow the pattern. Prioritize movements that challenge the target in lengthened positions with stable stops and minimal spillover fatigue. There are key scientific principles. Match exercise mechanics to muscle architecture. Prioritize full or lengthened bias range of motion where possible. And imaging research supports great hypertrophic potential from training at longer muscle lengths. Individual factors matter. Taller lifter may experience different leverages, and injury history should guide choices. Now, integrating SFR into a complete hypertrophy program. Aim to bulk of weekly volume 10 to 20 or plus 20 hard sets per muscle group depending on training age. from high-SFR movements. Distribute across 2 or 3 sessions per muscle for optimized frequency and recovery. Structure sessions strategically. Place higher RIA stimulus compound movements early when fresh, then layer high-SFR isolation to accumulate quality volume without excessive fatigue stacking. And for rep range, mostly 6 to 20 reps, with most working sets taken 0 to 3 reps in reserves RIR. Research shows hypertrophic stimulus increases toward failure, but fatigue raises exponentially past 2 RIR for many exercises, making 2 RIR common sweet spot for effective SFR. Progression. Use repeated bout effect intelligently. Start conservative with volume, add sets or load only when recovery proxy remain strong. Incorporate exercise variation every 4 to 8 weeks to combat accommodation while preserving high SFR options. And periodization and deloads. Monitor Proxies session to session. If stimulus indicator drop while fatigue raises, insert a deload, reduced volume, intensity for 1 week, or swap movements. Mesocycle can alternate accumulation, higher volume, slightly higher RIR, and intensification phases. Nutrition, sleep, and stress management remain foundational. SFR optimizes training efficiency but doesn't replace recovery basics. What does the broader scientific literature tell us? While SFR is a practical heuristic rather than a directly measured variable, it aligns closely with established principles. Schoenfeld's work emphasizes mechanical tension as the dominant driver, supporting forearm or lengthened bias training. Metabolic stress and muscle damage play a supportive role, particularly in moderate rep, shorter rest protocols. Recent research on range of motion shows that training emphasizing longer muscle length, forearm or lengthened partial can produce comparable or in some cases superior hypertrophy to shorter emphasis, likely due to greater mechanical tension in a stretched position. On proximity to failure, meta-analysis indicate that training to or near failure isn't strictly required for strength or hypertrophy when volume is equated. But going excessively far can disproportionately increase fatigue and recovery demands. Precisely what SFR seeks to balance. Stopping at 1 to 3 RIR often yields similar gains with better sustainability. Volume equated study reinforce that controlling unnecessary fatigue allows higher effective stimulus accumulation over time. SFR also ties into technique optimization, a strict form that maximizes target muscle tension while minimizing joint stress, improves the ratio. And common pitfalls: over-relying on favorite low-SFR exercises out of habit, chasing maximal loads at the expense of technique, or ignoring systematic fatigue signals until burnout sets in. And here is some troubleshooting tips. Audit one muscle group at a time. Film your sets for form. Track progress in training log. Adjust based on feel. If an exercise consistently leaves you disproportionately sore or drained without a strong pump or connection, consider alternatives. In summary, the stimulus to fatigue ratio provides a rigorous science-informed framework for decision-making in hypertrophy training. By prioritizing exercises and execution that deliver high hypertrophic stimulus per unit of fatigue, you can sustain higher recoverable volumes, reduce injury risk, improve adherence, and achieve superior long-term muscle growth. If this resonated, take action. Perform an SFR audit on one or two muscle groups in your next training block. Swap in a higher ratio alternatives. Track the progress for 4 to 6 weeks and note differences in recovery and progress. Share your results or questions in the comments. I read and reply. For more evidence-based deep dives into training science, subscribe and enable notifications. Thank you for investing your valuable training time and learning rigorously. Train smart, recover fully, and grow relentlessly. Until the next time.